Hi, marketers. This is Dots, and welcome to the Marketing Leadership Podcast. With me here is Larry Kim, CEO at Customers.ai, and to me, the father of pay-per-click advertising. We will discuss your inbound email marketing, B2C go-to-market solution. If you have an interest in go-to-market for B2C, this is one episode you don't want to miss. So let's do this. Larry, welcome. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me on your show.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Absolutely. It's an I've been looking forward to this for at least a decade. So thank you for making my dreams come true. Yeah, I for those who don't know you yet, because I know millions know you at this point, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, your background and role?
Sure. Thanks. I'm known for starting a company called WordStream over the last decade. It's the world's largest, online advertising software tools for Facebook and Google ads. That was just like a little startup that I started in my 20s in my basement, in my pajamas, kind of thing, and it grew to about 300 people managing approximately $1 billion of ad spend annually for tens of thousands of businesses globally. So that was an incredible journey, to build that business, and it was acquired by USA Today for nearly $200 million in 2018. So that was pretty awesome, honestly. And I'm working on it again with my new business called Customers.ai. It's a pretty interesting product that allows, among other things, it lets you figure out the email addresses of the visitors to your website. So, I mean, I think that's pretty interesting because, typically on a form, you might capture how much, like 1 or 2% of people, typically. And so just by putting on our pixel using like various AI technologies, we can actually do some analysis and figure out who the heck that person is. So we could say like, oh, Dots just came to your website and or Larry's at your website. And we also then, you know, well, we can talk about it later, but it's just a new company. It's about 40 people and it's growing. Thanks.
Yeah, it's what I like, and permit me to say this, what I like about people like you who you know, moved forward a particular marketing industry. For example, like Rand Fishkin, which we've also had on this podcast. Uh, you know, he started something about SEO and then spun into Sparktoro, which is like something very new. It's not very popular today, but it's going to be popular in 10 years. You are doing the exact same thing. You know, you've grown this PPC world. Everybody loves it. I use your benchmarks every day. I've been doing marketing 13 years. And now you're bringing something that is very, very interesting. And luckily for you, it's something that I also like as an upcoming influencer. I will discuss a lot about that data. But before I let you go on the PPC tangent, and yes, you've moved on, but where do you see the future of paid media in general? We've got AI powered audience enrichment, no click content, privacy, and so on. Where do you see things going moving forward?
I think we're figuring that out right now. I think that the things that we do like internally for our marketing
Mm,
would blow your minds. Like we have like AI generated video sales letters. So like someone's just talking and it says something different to every single recipient, you know, or just AI generated, and the copy for those AI videos is auto generated through
wow.
AI. So it's super customized um to your identity and to your user journey. Um, so I just think that what's the future? Holy moly, it's super customized, hyper targeted marketing at scale, like that everyone,
Mhm.
they want to see themselves in the mirror when they're talking to a brand or a business, like, see your ability as a marketer to reflect back their specific interests, their behaviors, their identity, their intent. We've always been trying to do that in marketing, uh, but it's what we're finding is we barely scratching the surface. Like this generative AI thing is just so unbelievable in terms of like how easy it is to customize this stuff at scale. Like in Facebook ads, like you never ran the same ad to everybody, right?
Hmm.
Maybe you had like 2 or 3 audiences. Well, here with AI, you can create a billion audiences at no extra, at no extra, effort. So
Efforts, yeah.
it's just, we're able to do this at scale now. And it's totally revolutionary, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I completely agree with that. I guess just to add to that is what's important is to stick human to human, right? You've had the father of human to human, Brian Kramer, on this podcast to re-emphasize that and sees why that is even needed more than it is more than we think as of today. But yeah, the capabilities are endless. Ad insertion, ad targeting, AI generated content, and so on and so forth. So with that excitement, I guess comes a bit of responsibility. If I were to speak to our listeners regarding that, so that makes a lot of sense. Now to the topic at hand, Larry. Um, I don't know if you know this, but the term go to market today is like 95% B2B. It's explained in the context of 99% B2B. You look at I'm not going to mention names, but there are a lot of voices coming around for that right now. And sometimes we pull in some uh, marketing terms that makes us think maybe we need to go back to marketing school. Even though that's not the case. Like revenue AI, revenue OS, RevOps, and all these things that come with go to markets for B2B. But what I like and what I see that you have done, and I hope I continue to follow you for a very long time because of this, is the fact that you've developed this go to market revenue stream, your channel, for B2C. And I guess my rants for the past 6 months is that if nobody is talking about go to market in the context of B2C, then I will be one of those voices, to be able to do that and educate as many people as possible and interview gurus like yourself on that subject. So with my mini rants there, why did you focus on B2C for your experience in this outbound email marketing space?
Sure. At WordStream, I was working with over 10,000 businesses that were doing, Facebook ads, Google ads. So the go to markets, like kind of the de facto go to market for B2C for the last 15 years has been ads. Like if you want to, if you have a new coffee machine and you want to, get it in front of consumers, like you just run Facebook or Instagram ads. And those are okay. But
Mm,
they're also pretty expensive. Uh, that stuff that used to cost, 50 cents CPMs, you know, 15 years ago are now, you know, closer to $1,000 CPMs right now. So, um, is there still ROI there? Maybe if you're really, really good, but it's just not, it's not easy anymore. And so,
mm,
um, you know, B2B has kind of figured out this idea that if you just email people directly, uh, it's a lot more efficient than, competing in these ad auctions and stuff like this. But it hasn't really caught on in B2C yet. And so what we're trying to do is reimagine some of these, outbounding GTM solutions like Apollo or ZoomInfo on the B2B side, but recontextualizing it in a B2C space. So
mhm,
and so the thing that we're competing against is actually ads. So like if you're spending 10, $20,000 on ads, Google or Facebook ads, um, we think we have a product here that can dramatically destroy the return on investment, like kick its butt, like kind of, by 100, 1,000 times. Because
mm,
what we can do is we can just tell you that we can give you the identities of the people who are visiting your website. And that's like the lowest funnel, highest intent. Like they've heard of you, they're in the market for this. It's kind of the same reason why remarketing works. Okay.
mm,
It's just the whole ad funnel. It's just so difficult right now. It's like you're paying $50 a click and 2% conversion. So that's like a couple $1,000 per lead,
Yeah.
whereas we can give you that lead for 50 cents. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, um,
And
and
it's a sales qualified lead, yeah?
so we can do some scoring. We can like give you some idea of like how engaged was the session.
Mm,
Like did they click on things? Did they, stay on the page for a while? And then we can kind of categorize stuff as like lower or higher intent. Um, it's kind of like those screen recording tools like a Hotjar where it kind of records clicks and stuff like this, and they say like, oh, this guy was angry, this guy was happy. Like we can do that kind of analysis and then dump people into different audiences depending on their kind of interest level, and
mm,
then we can augment that information with you know other attributes like where they live, what's their marital status, what's the how much they pay for property taxes. Like we've got thousands of data points on hundreds of millions of people. And then what you can do with that is whatever, like it's actually generative AI is what you do with that. It's like it used
mm,
to be that if you had all this information on people, um, wouldn't be a really easy way to use it. But now we can just like work that those data points that we know about people to make light customizations to emails, which you know end up being ridiculously you know impactful because these emails don't look like uh they really look like someone spent a day trying to get to know you a little bit, and
yeah.
you're reflecting back the identity of the person in the outreach. So I think going back to your original question, like yes, go to markets and stuff like this are typically you know B2B. Um, we aim to expand that to other B2C use cases, particularly the types of companies that spend money on ads uh, over the last decade. So like, e-commerce is definitely a big vertical, travel
Mm,
and tourism,
mm,
finance, insurance, banking,
mm,
like
mm,
all these consumer, niches are spending hundreds of billions of dollars on ads. And we think that that's crazy. Like, trust me, like I was selling $1 billion of ads, and it's hard to break even on these things in 2023 when
mm.
they're everyone is paying so much for these things. So
Yeah, no.
I don't know. Does that answer your question
No, no,
there?
no, 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 no. It does. And I guess what I would say, Larry, is that whenever you decide to write a book on B2C go to market, please remember me because by that point, I would have gathered so much knowledge about this, following your work and so on. This is really intriguing. This is very, very interesting. I think if you're listening, I I would ask that you follow Larry Kim and follow me because we are one of the few champions out there pursuing go-to-market for B2C. And we will be looking at, the intersection between email and some of the other channels in order to make this strategy very integrated and something that, marketing leaders can follow through going forward. So if you are like a B2C marketing leader, you can also start giving all the nice and sexy terms that they say in B2B, all these terms. You can start to say that in the context of B2C because people like Larry Kim have moved that industry forward. So that's really, really good. Uh Now, just getting into the crux here, we all know uh cold email. You know, I have under 3,000 LinkedIn followers and I get at least two cold emails a day since I started moving through this in the past few months. In your case, maybe millions within a span of time. What is your message to these people? Who bombard people with emails or text messages with irrelevant offering, and why is this, email system, this cold email system, as we know it today, why is it doomed? Why is it dead? Why should they think of something better?
So email is really the original gangster of marketing here. Like all these like Facebook and stuff like this, they're just kind of layers on top of email. Okay. Um, So, right, because you can run Facebook ads, and at the end of the day, you're just trying to obtain the email to get permission to, have a communications with that
Mm-hmm.
prospect.
Mm-hmm.
So, cold emailing, I can understand, has you know, a lot of allure, because what they're saying is, why go through those gatekeepers of the emails when I can just find them for you immediately? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's true. It's easier to find people's emails in 2023 than it was a decade ago. Like I can find anyone's email. Like I can, it's not hard. Um, so that is definitely appealing. I mean, I think the problem here with cold emailing is that the while it is really exciting from a volume perspective, like that you can like download the list of like every single CMO for companies uh, that have more than 2 million in revenue, or like you can come up with like an audience, and then and just email them like that. The problems are twofold. Number one, and then they're related. It's deliverability and engagement. Okay,
Mm.
so the engagement rates is how the Google spam filter kind of computes whether or not to show this in people's inbox, or into the promotions tab, right? So if you're doing cold emailing and you have low engagement rates, like 1% open rates or something like that, which is typical, or if you're getting a lot of complaints,
Yeah.
um, those are negative engagement rates, then it's kind of telling the Google spam filter, which is an AI, that this is bad. You shouldn't bother wasting people's time with it. So I think this cold emailing is kind of doomed from a perspective of like the just deliverability. Like, who cares if we send out 10,000 emails to the right people if they don't see
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and they're not going to see it unless you get these engagement rates up to like 30-40% open rates, that kind of thing. And so that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do any cold emailing at all. It just perhaps means that we should rethink some of the strategies behind cold emailing.
Mm.
So everyone, 99% of businesses do email marketing. So we we
Yeah.
we all have newsletters and stuff like this.
Yeah.
What we love about inbound emailing is the engagement rate, so that you can get like 10, 20, 30% open rates, and then
Mm.
and decent deliverability. What we hate about inbound is this: it's so freaking hard to grow your list. Like it's like the waiting game. Like, oh God, I only added like 3 emails to my list today. It's like, it's really frustrating if you're trying to grow quickly,
That's
and
true.
so it would be kind of interesting if there was a way to kind of combine some of the things that we like about traditional inbound email marketing. So like the engagement rates and the lack of complaints, with some of the, benefits of cold emailing, which is like it's unbounded. You can get enormous lists quickly. Uh,
Yeah.
there is a way to combine the two and kind of have your cake and eat it too, where you have the benefits of like high engagement as well as high volume. And that's sort of what we're trying to pioneer here. I'm calling it sort of not quite inbound emailing, not quite outbound emailing. We're calling it's intent driven outbounding, like intent driven targeted outbounding.
No,
And
I would say you call it demand generation B2C. Or you have to come up with a set of B2C, uh, whatever version is in B2B, and then have that named in the B2C world. But yeah, having your cake and eating it too. Some listeners will be saying this sounds good to be true. I have a different perspective as to that, which is there is help for the B2C space in the demand generation world or go to market world. Anyway, eating having your cake and eating it too. We stalk our guests a lot. And I know that this, from the way you've mastered it, is split into three strategic frameworks. Maybe there is more you can tell us. And I'm talking about the outbound, email marketing channel. Do you want to break those frameworks down for us. What are they? Why should marketers care, and why should those, I guess, branches be working all at the same time?
Sure, sure. Um, so at a high level, we're talking about how to do, you know, targeted outbounding emails in a way where we have high engagement as well as like almost like unconstrained leads. Like, wouldn't that be amazing if you instead of getting 1 or 2 leads a day, you could get 10,000 or whatever?
Yeah, yeah.
uh, right. So uh, it is possible to do. Um, and in fact, that's the go to market for my business. So, like, I send out about 500,000 emails a month, like new emails to new people. Like,
Mm.
so
Wow.
we typically get somewhere between 0 and 10 spam complaints per month. So
Wow.
it's pretty low, right? Because it's how you do it, and that matters. And I'm getting 30-40% open rates. For outbounding, right? Like non-traditional, like I just looked them up. I didn't necessarily do this whole spending $1,000 to get a click and then try to convert them into a newsletter subscriber. So there are three components, as you alluded to. The first has to do with like the list generation strategy, right? So I think that is a very weak component of cold emailing strategies today, like where you just look up people's identities. It's easy to get a list of like VPs of marketing or what like you can get a list of people that meet certain characteristics.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that kind of reminds me of like banner advertising. Remember how like we used to do banner advertisings on certain placements and hope that because this website is about trampolines, that maybe they'll buy my trampoline. Okay, like
Yeah.
like there was it was sort of like a just
It was a big thing then.
yeah, yes. So like the difference, there was an innovation like 20 years ago that really increased the click-through rates of display ads from 0.1% to like you know 1 or even 2%.
Hmm.
And that was when they started layering in intent signals into the ad targeting. Okay, so like
Yeah.
remarketing ads, like
Yeah.
if you knew that someone was actively searching for something, and then you targeted that person on any website as opposed to just you know one specific one, that generated a better outcome. So like right now, the email generation strategies are kind of like those stupid old banner advertising strategies before layering in intent. So what I'm
Uh,
saying is like when you when you think about this big email list that you want to send emails to, think of it as finding a data source, okay, that that is relevant to your business. So think about your business in terms of what are the signals that someone gives off uh, prior to becoming a really great customer. So
yeah.
suppose you're like an e-commerce agency, okay? Maybe that person might install Shopify or they might install
Yeah.
Klaviyo. Same thing.
Yeah.
So like instead of just getting a list of marketers, what you really should be doing is creating a data service that listens for events like, oh, so someone just installed Klaviyo, right? Because
Oh.
or somebody, that's just one example. Like
Yeah.
there's so many intent data sources out there that you can license data. Like one of them is Customers.ai, my business. So like we can give you intent data of the people who are visiting your website. Like we could, like normally people don't know who those people are, but
Yeah.
if we gave you that list and if you subscribe to it like in perpetuity, then you would have a dynamic list being generated of people who've exhibited very specific levels of intent. Okay. And just to give one more example, like, you can get data for people who had a baby or people who got married
Yeah. I was
or
gonna say the baby
like
one. Remember the I don't know, one of the baby products. that did some advertising, and they said, this lady hasn't delivered the baby yet, but the system was able to find out that they are expecting a baby soon. And so there was some retargeting, and that was like a PR event. This was many years ago. I don't know if it was Procter and Gamble or one of those guys.
This Target. Yeah. The so my first idea is just change how you're developing your email list. Move away from static email list creation and instead move to subscribing to dynamic intent data sources, such as, customers AI. Like we can give you, the list of people who visited your website. And we're working on other technologies like
Mm.
we'll be able to give you the emails of people who searched for certain products and services. You see what I'm saying? Like, um, so it's the list generation is definitely one of the three pillars. The second pillar has to do with deliverability tools. Okay. So just because you have a really, really good list source, okay, uh, and which I'd be happy to help you, develop. Um, you still need to do things to just like how you do things in AdWords or in SEO to help the algorithm, like, juice your scores and stuff like this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We need to think about the promotions tab algorithm and how that works. And we need to think about how can we send, kind of the signals that it wants to see, and how can we stop sending the signals that it doesn't want to see. It's no different from SEO. Like how can what are the things it looks for? Well, it hates broken links, it hates high bounce rates, it's like you have to understand how that works so that you stop sending that signal so that you improve your rankings. It's the same thing for
yeah.
for email marketing. And there's a couple ideas here. Uh that, like newsletters, for example, are very easy for Google to spot
I see.
because it's the same email being sent from the same account. You see, and usually if you have like thousands of people on your newsletter, like you're sending it all at the same time, right? So it's like a dead giveaway. So we just
Yeah,
need we we just need to understand, like, what are those basic factors that Google's spam filters look for, and not do them. Customers AI has tools to distribute the emails across different email platforms, across different emails, sending environments. So like we can send it from different IP addresses, from different email addresses, and we can send them out slowly. Like, what's the rush? Like,
yeah,
like instead of sending like 100,000 emails in 10 minutes, like that's what MailChimp does. Like, why don't you still send the 100,000 emails over a day or 2 days?
yeah,
Like, so spread it out a little bit. Send it from like instead of sending all from the same email, like have some come from your Google workspace, some come from a Microsoft Office, some come from a SendGrid. You see what I'm saying? So have it
yeah.
mix it up a little bit from different sending IPs and different emails. Kind of
That's a good
flying,
best practice, actually.
basically kind of flying under the radar, because like even if you get 30, 40, 50% open rates, you still might get one or two people who complain, and that's going to negatively impact your s- your deliverability if you get a lot of those. So by spreading it out across a lot of things, it just makes it harder to fingerprint. There is one crazy invention that I want to mention briefly, and that is these deliverability tools where there's these, just Google it, like deliverability tools. Like there
Mm.
are tools
Yeah.
that you can use that actually, it's like you join a network of like 100,000 companies, and they just start sending emails to each other. Okay. And then they notice if it ends up in the spam filter. And then what it does is
Oh,
it controls your Gmail, and it actually pulls the emails out of the spam filter and marks them as being not spam.
oh,
Okay.
I see.
So it's actually it's actually
So
like
that's not true vetting, if I would look at that.
it's I mean, this is kind of a racket. It's like a bunch of, companies that have agreed to kind of join this circle of friends where you kind of email each other stuff. And then if somebody's it ends up in the spam folder, they pull it out. And that kind of confuses the Google AI,
Yeah.
thinking that, oh, I shouldn't have classified this as spam. So there's tons of things you can do, but you're saying like three pillars. You know, number one is the intent. Number two is the deliverability tools, and those do help a lot. And then the last idea is just like uh, keeping your email newsletter, keeping your email list more fresh. And
Mm.
so one of the biggest signals that kills your deliverability is low engagement. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of people, inbound marketers who've been doing email marketing for years, and they have like 10,000 or 100,000 emails, but like half of them are from like 5 years ago or older. You see what I'm saying? And maybe you've got like this list that has a 10% engagement rate, like open rate. But when you look at it closely, it's like it's actually more like a 20% open rate for the new people and more
Yeah.
like a 5% engagement rate for these old people. And so what you should be doing is deleting kind of the non-engaged contacts more frequently. Now, no one likes to do that because it took a
Like
lot
you
of
said, it's the waiting game building the list in the first place.
yeah, I worked so hard to build this list. No freaking way am I going to delete anything from this list. Okay. But what if I instead said, hey, I can make your leads unlimited. Like I could put this pixel on your website so that you're getting, 20% of everybody who visits your website. If you're doing 1,000 visitors, or sorry, 10,000 visitors a month, like we can give you 2,000 emails a month. Okay.
Yeah.
Then maybe you might feel less pressure to delete some of the old crap. Like nobody wants to delete the old crap, which is actually killing your deliverability because it's like the donkeys that are dragging down the engagement rate of your overall, campaigns, right? Nobody wants to get rid of them. They're scared. They spent too much money on that. Okay. And they don't have a replacement source. But if we could give you a replacement source of where it's like, oh my God, I have too many leads. I don't know what to do with it. Right. Because like you can subscribe to multiple sources of intent.
Mm.
Okay. Now you've got this enormous list. Just delete the dead ones. And like I would define that as like if you sent like one or two or three emails and they haven't clicked or open, well, I don't think that sending like the fourth or fifth email is going to help.
It's gonna,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
so usually it's like if they're interested, they'll at least show some signs of life early on. And so, my third idea is just like taking the high engagers from your intent driven outbound campaigns and dumping that into your newsletter so that it's like
Uh,
pouring
uh,
it's like pouring hot water into kind of a lukewarm bathtub. It'll raise the temperature.
temperature. Yeah.
It'll raise the engagement list of this dead list. Okay. Uh and then at the same time, now that you've raised the water level, you can like flush out some of the old stuff. You're kind of, you have a better mixture. So this these ideas I'm talking about, it can even resuscitate your inbound emailing efforts
Yeah.
by by
Yeah.
by infusing it with a blood transfusion of new blood, of new engaged users. And so, it's a bit of a, there's a couple concepts here. Nothing too crazy, but it is a little bit of thinking. We do this on behalf of our own business and our own and our customers.
Mhm.
Like we have a managed service offering where we can actually do that work for you. Um, but it is a remarkably, there's just not a lot of innovation going on in like how to
Yeah.
improve your deliverability and how to improve your list generation strategies and how to keep your newsletters like fresh and, and growing. And this is what we've kind of focused on.
No, no, that's great. And all the things you've mentioned, not just focuses on the outbound side, but even the entire email marketing scope. And my aim, which has been going well with this episode, is to even expand it through the marketing scope in general. Because, like you said, email is the gangster of marketing, right? It's like it's the grandfather of everything. It took
All roads lead to email. Like if you're doing landing page optimization, it's to get their email. If you're doing like ad optimization or SEO, it's to get their email. So these are pretty leveraged strategies we're talking.
So there's one more strategy or idea I would like you to touch on, and that's the creative side. You mentioned that at the very beginning in your intro, in terms of trying to optimize the email automation creative, whether it's inbound or in this case for this episode, outbound. And you've mastered, the art of using this with AI and intent and customization and, just executing this at scale. So what are some of your best practices to doing this? Um, Whether using your a tool like Customer.ai or using some other external tool, what are some of the things you've seen that make email content automation, um, I guess creates great KPIs like, clicks or time on email. I don't know if there's a
or
KPI like
sale
that.
or
Or a
sales. Yeah, yeah,
sale,
no, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, sure. Just thinking about my own solution, Customers AI, for a second, as an example. So I can get you the email addresses of the people who visited your website, and that's
Mm,
super valuable. But
yeah.
we know a lot more about that person. Okay, so we know what pages they visited. Okay, so if you're an e-commerce company with 5 products, right? You wouldn't send the same email if someone looked for this product or that product. Okay, so
Yeah.
so you should be, and then there's solution companies with so many different offerings, and it's a pain in the butt to make those segmentations and create all these automations. Like it's like splitting hairs. But
Yeah.
what AI does is it says like, holy moly, like I can just, even if I have 1,000 web pages on my website, okay, I can write one email outreach template, and then I can create a prompt that says, now analyze the contents of these web pages that they visited and make light customizations to the email to more specifically talk about the product and the solutions or the pain points
Mm,
in terms of their specific journey, right? And so what Customers AI does is that we use an LLM that pulls in all of the content from all the pages that they visited in their session and then customizes the email automatically. And that actually helps with uh, deliverability because there's nothing to
mm,
fingerprint, right? Like I
yeah.
remember the newsletter is the stupid easiest thing. Like it's like a sitting duck. Like it's so easy to find because you can just fingerprint the email and say like, oh, here it is again, and here it is again. But like what generative AI is doing is it's making it so there's nothing to fingerprint. And
Mm,
from the perspective of the recipient, it's a delight to receive. Like it's truly a delight to get an email where it's like exactly what you're looking for. Like that's why Google search is so good. It's like, oh, this is
yeah.
exactly what I was looking for. You see what I'm saying? Like people love it. People even love Google ads. If the relevance is there, people want to use it. Okay. Um, so that's one element. The other element, so we can customize based on user intent. Like what was it that they were looking for?
Yeah.
Another axis of customization is actually user identity. So
Mm,
once we look up, we say, oh, this is Dots, and his email address is dots@gmail.com or something like this. Like I could look up all the information about you, like your city, town, your income, kids, your interests, your like all those Facebook demographic targeting parameters. Like
yeah.
I can augment a personal email to include everything about the person, and then you can then in our LLM, what we do is we then say like it's like a multi-stage process. Like now that we've kind of created this nice email that reflects their unique journey, we then say, now here's some more data about the person. Like he's got, for me, it's like he's got 2 kids, he's interested in
Mm,
startups. He owns a pool. Like this little
wow.
information about that person, and they can kind of do another level of customization of the message to not just reflect intent, but also reflect back identity. You see what I'm saying? Uh,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
then the last kind of area of customization that we can do is in media. So so far we're talking about generating a customized email or a series of emails. But there's no reason why you couldn't like, tell the LLM to then generate a text message, like, right? It's just now generate me a, 140 character text message. Okay. And then we could then use like a text to voice API, AI API that converts it so it's like, so it sounds like it's really like a real human being and not a robot.
That is
Like,
speaking, yeah.
yeah. So like those, they're very good. Like you can just convert them to voicemail, and then we can drop them in automatically as voicemails, or we could say, uh, generate, instead of generating an email, like you say, generate a video sales letter, and then customize Larry talking to the customer using the words that was generated. You see what I'm saying? Like, so like,
Yeah.
there's so many accesses of customization, and what's crazy about this is like this is like it's so easy. Like this kind of stuff would have taken, million, it would be like $1 million, $1 billion, like $100 million initiatives for big brands.
And done by go folks like Netflix and Co.
Exactly. Like maybe
Yeah.
like, maybe like Harrah's Casino or Amazon.com or Walmart, like they could, engage in these types of hyper personalization at scale type of things. And now it's like anyone can do this. So like I'm just blown away. We're barely scratching the surface here of
Yeah.
like how deeply you can easily personalize, based on intent, based on identity, and across different media channels.
Yeah. Yeah, and these are all very, very great ideas. I think you have looked at the subject of creative in a very great way. You are looking at, the nuances of the brand, you are looking at the nuances of the audience and mixing that up to create something that is great, probably even in the moment as well, sending it where they have the highest probability to read and things
Intent.
like that.
That's intent. Yes, layering in
Yeah,
intent. Yeah.
exactly. So some other things I would like to explore with you, and this is the most interesting topic of this podcast so far. Depending on where you are listening, we produce a lot of episodes. So let me give you a quick scenario, very quick scenario, and I want you to tell me if this is possible for B2C. So I have, I don't know, B2C, a list of say 10,000 customers, and I'm trying to enrich that. I'm trying to develop the target total addressable market, not the one you see on Deloitte or stuff like that. The one that pertains to you, sort of how it's used in B2B. Am I able to take, say, a list of these clients, put it into a tool like Customer.io, and let that help me find similar audiences based on different attributes and things like that, and I'm able to use that expanded term in something like ads, in something like SEO. Do you think that kind of system is possible, especially in the B2C world? Because I know that's what they do mostly on B2B, but there is an obvious difference between B2B and B2C. With B2C, it looks like there are way more signals that we can use compared to some of the signals that we have on B2B, which you can count with your fingers. And then some of the tools have some of these other issues around them, the whole I don't know if I will call it email verification arbitrage and stuff like that. All that is going on. But what I just gave, that example I gave in terms of data enrichment for term development in B2C, do you think that's kind of process is possible for this new technology for go-to-market, for example, if they want to introduce a new product?
Oh, so first of all, my company is Customers.ai, not Customers.io. That's a
Oh,
that,
my
that,
apologies.
that's
I'm
the
getting too excited. It's customer, yeah.
IO is like Indian Ocean or something, like where we don't do
Okay.
we're not that. Um, so yes. Here's how I would describe what you're talking about. So, our product could identify the IDs of people who visit your site. Okay. We could augment them. We could score their sessions as being like high interest, medium, like top, middle, or bottom of funnel. Okay.
Mhm,
We can then create the Facebook audiences or Google audiences or TikTok audiences and push those audiences back to the platforms. And you would have different creatives based on where they were in the funnel. If they were like super, new or super engaged, like then just send them a coupon code or send them a case study, like depending on where they're
Depending on
they're
where the
in the
funnel
yeah.
conversation is, yeah.
Uh, and it does work for lookalike audiences, although um
Because I know you've got integrations, right? There are
yes.
integrations with other systems. So maybe you can answer that question from that perspective.
Yes, so we can push the data to Google and Facebook, and the reason is why this is important is like Facebook doesn't have this data and Google doesn't have this data either. So like if you think about what's happening with iOS and cookies and Chrome,
Yeah.
every major browser platform and like device company is blocking Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics from receiving like callbacks from like remarketing pixels, basically. Uh,
Yeah.
and so uh, the remarketing strategies that used to work so good in like 2014 and stuff like this, they just don't work anymore. So what you can do is like we can like collect that data and then using a server to server connection,
Uh,
not through the browser,
mm,
we can send back those identities to the ad platforms, so that they actually do receive that information. And so it's like we can make your re remarketing campaigns, like, capture all of the data, whereas, like, right now, you're maybe capturing, like, remarketing data on, like, a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of people who are
yeah.
using, like, super, super old, Microsoft Explorer browsers from the '90s. I saw
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
so, like, I think and, of course, we could you could do, similar audiences and stuff like this, but, like, I think an even bigger thing would be that we could restore the integrity and volume of your first party data,
Mm.
that you don't even like, I don't.
Like putting Facebook API on steroids, for example, because I know they are trying this server thing you mentioned.
Yeah, yes. So we can provide but it requires a bit of work. Like but what we can do is we can identify the users and then seamlessly, automatically send it back to every ad platform. So it's all you know. Yes, that could be used for similar audiences, but I'm even more excited by this idea of sending the data back to the ad platforms in the first place, which they're not receiving,
Yeah. Yeah.
and B, scoring the visitors by like, low, medium, and high intent, and being able to
Market
segment.
to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If you're listening to the Marketing Leadership Podcast, we are nearly done. And this is very, very interesting so far, with Larry Kim. But before I ask the last two questions, I just want us to have a little bit of fun, right? So it's the dots rapid fire. The name has changed a couple of times. I think this is like the fifth iteration, but we've settled on the dots rapid fire. And it's basically three questions. You're like in the marketing court of law, virtual marketing court of law. So it's the truth and nothing but the truth. Are you ready?
Okay, let's go.
Okay. The first one is, what is your best marketing KPI? And I don't want to hear sales or revenue.
Engagement rates,
Ah,
campaign engagement rates. So every campaign that you do, whether it's email, ads, social media, they do have like like an open rate for email or a click rate for an
yeah,
ad. So
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
very top. That's like a top of funnel metric, but it actually it's the universe telling you how interesting your campaign is.
Even
Okay.
conversion rate is an engagement rate KPI in a
Uh,
way.
well, what, what we find is they're correlated. The higher the
Yeah,
click rate, the higher the conversion rate. So
yeah,
if you couldn't even if I couldn't even measure conversions, I could tell you which ones were your highest converting ads, your highest converting emails just by looking at open rate. So uh, it just if you have like a email open rate of 5, 10, 15%, like that's the universe saying it's not that interesting, guys. Let's try to come up with something else here.
Interesting, interesting. The second question is, how long do you use social media every day? My
Oh,
guess is not very long.
oh, almost nothing at all during the day, but like you can't work like forever. Like so,
Yeah,
I unwind, in the
yeah,
evening, like watching like
yeah,
stupid YouTube clips and stuff like this for about an hour in the evening, like quite regularly.
yeah,
Just decompressing.
yeah. And that's really, really allowed. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right about that. The last one is probably easy. What is your favorite marketing quote?
Be a unicorn in a sea of donkeys. This has been my
Yeah.
mantra for 15 years, and it's just a metaphor. The unicorns is a metaphor for the remarkable top 1, 2, 3% of most engaging campaigns. Um, what I found is that companies or marketers spend a lot of time doing a lot of stuff like executing around
Mm,
campaigns and things like this,
mm,
but that only a small number of them will actually generate any value. Uh, it's almost like you didn't do anything. Um, so be a unicorn in a sea of donkeys. It just means like double down and focus on the winning ideas and stop doing the things that aren't producing anything. Right?
interesting. Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's actually one more question because we've treated the other one I was planning to ask you. And it's probably the biggest question of all. Privacy.
Oh,
Privacy. It's everything people you are saying is very exciting, and but we live in a world of fine print and catches. So um how does this whole inbound email marketing, I to my mind, I want to call it email marketing go to market for B2C framework, how is that affected by the trending world of privacy? And there is a lot moving around these days.
thoughts? Are you in USA or Canada?
I'm in Canada.
Okay, so I'm not an expert on Canada, but I'm from the United States. I'm actually from Canada, but I'm now an
Wow.
American.
If
Yeah.
the,
Well, uh, so in I can speak for United States of America, and that is we have like this thing called the First Amendment, and it just says, Congress shall pass no law that in any way restricts or in any way restricts the right to free speech.
mm,
It's a very important constitutional right. It's the First Amendment, like the very
mm,
first one,
mm,
and it's just I don't see like any restrictive like GDPR like privacy laws coming down in the United States. Like certainly not that restrictive. There is something called can spam here in the United States. But if you read through that, it has certain provisions. They're more
mm,
related to opting out and clearly identifying who's sending the email. It says like you have to have your name and address at the bottom. You can't deceive the user on like using tricky subject lines, and you have to honor the unsubscribes properly. So like we are 100% can spam compliant.
mm,
Um, and we don't expect to see these types of GDPR things in the United States because of our kind of founding history. Uh, we don't work in Europe. Like
okay.
we're GDPR compliant, but the way that we receive our GDPR compliance is by eliminating all, emails of Europeans. So if there's like an email like, Pierre or something like that, we say no. Just kidding. It's not how we do it. But we remove EU emails from our database. So uh, so this is a but like guys, that's like if you're a big enough company where you have to worry about this, then you've already made it. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah,
there's no reason to, you know, push push the boundaries. You're basically just waiting to be displaced by another company at that stage. What's your big target?
yeah.
Um, you
No,
know,
no, no, no one really sues a nobody, for
what,
example.
what I'm saying is like traditionally, think about any successful company. today. When they were younger, they did push the boundaries of privacy and doing stuff on the edge. Like, have you heard of have you heard of Wayfair?
Yeah. I have a couple of I'm sure the bed behind me is Wayfair.
Okay, so Wayfair, they started out doing like 14,000 websites for like different websites, and it was like buyfurniture.com or buycouches.com or like
Wow.
they were just it was an SEO hack, okay? And then after they got to their billions of dollars, like the company was called CSN Stores, and it was like
What?
CSN Stores because it had 14,000 websites. Okay,
Wow.
why? Because of SEO. So
Yeah.
like all of these, now they're a multi-billion dollar business, right? Doing something like
Yeah.
13 billion in revenue or something,
Yeah. And they've
But
got large data sets anyway that are like their own data.
yeah. So like I'm saying when they were earlier in their stage, like you could look at that and say, hey, that's kind of weird. Like, why are you doing that? But they made it, and then it's the same thing with every other big company, like LinkedIn. They were just publishing profile pages of of people's like exact names. So like if you search for like Larry Kim, like the LinkedIn page would show up, or I don't know, Zoom Info just made their billions off of scraping LinkedIn. Like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so just you kind of have to be, there's certainly no, I don't want to do anything illegal, and we're not
Yeah.
illegal. We're
Yeah.
fully,
Yeah.
but I would also encourage people to, be a little uncomfortable, like to push the boundaries
Yeah. Yeah.
of
Yeah.
marketing, to be the first to do things because traditionally the market does reward those people.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Larry, I can go on and on here, and it's been a very, very awesome time with you. Like I said before, now I hope we can become very close friends. Because you are doing what I'm looking forward to. I think in the last month or so, my vision as an influencer in marketing strategy has been made clear, which is project the world of go-to-market B2C strategies. And what we've discussed here, even though it's email, it has already cut across SEO, paid ads, and some of the other channels in there, which is really, where that should go to. Because in as much as everybody's addicted to B2B nowadays, I think there's still a huge market, which you've also said as well, in the B2C space. So thank you so, so much for sharing incredible wisdom from this. And for those who don't know you yet, where can they find you? Where can they, learn more about this?
Sure. I'm mostly active on LinkedIn and Twitter these days, so find me there. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Larry Kim is a Wikipedia brand. So just look for that. You will find it. Guys, that's all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. More of these are available on my website, lovesmarketing.com. And if you have, your favorite podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, just search the Marketing Leadership Podcast. We are starting to rank up a little bit. I want to also give thanks to Desk Rig and Content Allies for their support on this episode. Until the next one, connect the dots.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Leadership Podcast, brought to you by Listen Network. There will be links to resources mentioned in today's show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.